Hi everyone, I'm Bon and welcome to my first daily edition of this week. In this week, I'm going to cover what we learned last week, like the analyzation of what I learned last week, and some of the problems and challenges I ran into during the work last week. Let's start with what I learned last week. So in last week, I learned about interest rates. So interest rates are the cost of borrowing an asset, or moreover a portion of that asset that is given to the lender per annual or per month, per week, per day, anytime that the lender and the borrower agrees to. So that is for the definition. How does it connect with inflation? You see, inflation controls the value of money, and interest rates coincidentally controls inflation, because when a bank increases interest rates, they somehow lower inflation. That would be explained later in the video. This contributes by the value of money determined by how much interest is there, meaning that now interest rates affect inflation, which affect value of money, which affects interest rates, forming a complete three-man cycle that is effective in the financial industry. Next, we learned about the importance of interest rates. So interest rates are the basics of the financial industry. They control everything from the regulation of bank policies to the central bank's policy rate to the supply-demand cycle, etc. So that's all for the first part of what we learned. Now to the second part. In the second part, we dove in deeper about why banks have different interest rates and how did central banks control their interest rates. So firstly, why banks have different interest rates? This is because each bank, as a bank is a business anyway, each bank has their own motive, their drive, their goals, their mantra, their obsession, and the people related to them. Each bank also has their customer, so they have to design their interest rates based on all of those factors put together in order to make more business and gain profit. So how do central banks control inflation? Controlling inflation is not very easy, as we need to higher or increase the policy rate. This is only for the central bank. So the policy rate is something like the interest rate, but for central banks. So the central bank, if they raise the policy rate, it will influence normal banks, like smaller banks all around the country, to stabilize or either lower or increase their interest rate. If it increases, people would stop taking out loans, or take out loans but take out very little to not take the risk of losing everything because of loan repossession. This causes an uproar, or rather a downroar, in the supply-demand system, meaning that the economy slows down, and in the long term, the economy stabilizes. Now, for the last part, all of the challenges and problems I ran to. So the first problem, or the major problem that I ran to, was my way of finding information. This was because I didn't have many clear questions, and all of my answers were sometimes not very logical or illogical. This led to me not performing very well on that week's work. I could improve on this by either learning structures from academic writing, such as Mrs. Pratt has already mentioned in the group, or I could learn how to search properly by understanding what the main questions are and rewriting them based on all the documentaries, files, documents, etc. that I read. So that is all for my first daily edition of this week. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day. Goodbye.